Today we're gonna dive deep into 90s horror with 10 underrated scary movies from that decade that absolutely deserve your attention. The 90s is often looked at as a weak decade for horror because it can't stand up to the glory days of the 70s and 80s, but in its own way, I still think it was a great decade. The older I get, the more I find 90s horror to be one of my favorite comfort blankets. So my name is Daniel with the Cobwebs channel, and let's get started.
The doctor will see you now.
Don't worry, it's just a routine operation.
Dr. Giggles. From 1992, a madman who believes he's a doctor comes to the town where his psychotic father was killed and soon begins murdering people and becoming infatuated with a girl who has a heart condition. This is a classic slasher that is very much in the vein of the glory days of 80s slashers, but it came out in the early 90s, which was no longer the glory days. So this film was not successful like a lot of its predecessors were, but it's still a really good time. Often slashers live and die on their central killer, and this movie really succeeds with that. Here you've got Larry Drake as Dr. Giggles, a character with a really dark backstory. When you get his flashback, it is insane. But he's a character who's really fun because he thinks he's a doctor, so his kills very much involve medical equipment and things like that. So it's got a lot of very creative kills, not necessarily the most bloody or gory. The early 90s was not the best time for that. But the best thing about him has got to be his one-liners, his puns. Almost everything that comes out of his mouth is some kind of ridiculous, morbid doctor joke. But Larry Drake, he makes it work because he never lets on that he knows this is a goofy movie. He seems like he's taking it completely seriously. And that's what makes it work. That's what holds it back from being just a stupid cheese fest. But while he's fantastic, most of the other characters are kinda terrible. Our lead girl is okay. She's sympathetic, mostly because she has a heart condition and has to have some kind of major surgery, and that's what really makes Dr. Giggles fixate on her. And also because she's got a terrible cheating boyfriend. But she is kind of a boring character. And everyone else around her is just awful, different shades of terrible person. I do appreciate this guy though, because he really just looks like the 90s incarnate. But on a technical level, it's really well done. I love the cinematography here. It has a lot of really creative shot composition. It's got a beautiful score, just all around very well directed. Dr. Giggles is still worth checking out. But the time may come soon when you'll want to find an actually good doctor, which brings me to the sponsor of this video, ZocDoc. I've always been a healthy person, and other than going to the gym, really just because I enjoy it, I never had to think about my health much and hardly ever went to the doctor. And then I turned 30, and all of a sudden, things started to change very quickly. I started to have heartburn issues, breathing issues, I had to get my appendix removed, my wife and I had a baby, which was not an issue, that was very cool. But all in all, I've spent more time in some type of doctor's office in the past few years than I had the rest of my life combined, and then some. Fortunately, my sponsor ZocDoc is a free website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. And ZocDoc isn't just for one type of care. They have more than 100,000 providers across nearly every specialty, from primary care to dental care, eye care to urgent care to mental health, and more. It's the one-stop shop for all your healthcare needs. No need to call doctor's offices and wait on hold either. ZocDoc lets you do everything online. And as a person who feels more relaxed when I'm prepared, I really appreciate that they have tons of verified patient reviews and detailed doctor profiles, so I know what to expect from them. In the past few years, I also figured out how important it is to find the right doctor, both for myself and my family. When I previously assumed that doctors were just doctors and they all basically knew the same stuff, that's not true. In particular, my wife has been dealing with some medical stuff that's kind of ambiguous, and we've really figured out how important it is to have a doctor who listens and advocates for you. When you've found the doctor you need, you can see their actual appointment openings. Plus, ZocDoc helps you get appointments fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking, and you can even score same-day appointments. Go to ZocDoc.com/cobwebs to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/cobwebs to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring today's video, and let's get back to it.
Let the harvest begin.
Children of the Corn 3. Urban Harvest from 1995. After a couple in Chicago adopts a pair of orphaned brothers from the country, the older of them begins to adjust to his new life while the younger holds on to the old ways. So I cannot tell you I'm some big fan of the Children of the Corn franchise. In fact, previous to this week, I had only seen the first one, and I think it's okay, though I'm not the biggest fan of it. I've never been very interested in the sequels, but I'd always heard pretty good things about this third one, so I went ahead and checked it out, and it felt like one of those where has this movie been all my life kind of movies. Oh my god. Children of the Corn 3. This movie is insane. It has so many of the craziest things I have seen in a long time, all contained in this one film. It's got a lot of kills. Almost all of them are completely bonkers. Most of them I will not give away anything about, but I do have to shout out a killer scarecrow in one scene. That's probably one of my favorite killer scarecrows I've ever seen in a movie. I just wish we had more time with it. While I normally might hold this movie back for not giving me that classic Children of the Corn farmland atmosphere, I actually think it's really different and interesting that it brings it to the city. And seeing these country Children of the Corn boys clashing with the urban environment brings forth a lot of entertainment, and I actually really like the older brother character and the friends that he makes at school. They turn out to be very solid protagonists. But our central creepy kid, Eli, is sufficiently creepy, and I like the evangelistic plot with him, that now he no longer has his Children of the Corn cult, so he's got to rebuild it within his school. I kind of wish we got more build up on that. It kind of feels like there's some scenes missing, but it works well enough. But guys, I truly cannot oversell how insane the third act of this movie is. Like, I was mouth agape, could not believe what I was witnessing. It goes so far, it goes so crazy, and I had such an absolute blast shoving popcorn in my face and enjoying every moment of Children of the Corn 3. The Guardian from 1990. A young couple with a newborn son don't realize that their new nanny is a magical druid sacrificing infants to an evil tree. We're kind of following up one nature-based folk horror movie with another, and again about it clashing with a more city life. And it's also another weird, crazy movie. It is a druid cult sacrificing to a tree type of flick. But probably the weirdest thing about that is it's directed by William Friedkin. This is actually his follow-up horror film, his return to the horror genre after making The Exorcist. We go from The Exorcist to The Guardian. That is absolutely wild, but I really do like this movie. I think it's a very solid precursor to 90s domestic thrillers, just with way more witchy magic. In fact, the lead actress, Jenny Seagrove, who plays the nanny, who's very, very good in this movie, by the way, actually thought it would have been better without the witchy magic, the druid stuff, and if it was just about an evil nanny taking children. She was shot down when she threw out that idea, and then The Hand That Rocks the Cradle became a big hit just a little bit after this, and she felt kind of vindicated. But I'm glad that they kept the witchy stuff, because I like that kind of stuff in movies, and I think it's really wild and fun here. The scenes where the tree kills people, because yes, that does happen here, are nuts. They are so graphic. They are so violent. Like, William Friedkin is just going nuts in those sequences. And our lead couple or protagonists are likable. There's certain cliches that I was expecting with them that the movie doesn't do, and I actually appreciated that. The Guardian is fun. It's different. It's interesting, and I really enjoy it.
What I'm trying to tell you is that in the right hands, Max can save thousands of lives. In the wrong hands, he can be a deadly weapon.
Man's Best Friend from 1993. A genetic research facility worker exposes animal abuses there to a local TV reporter, who frees and takes in a genetically altered dog from the lab, unaware that he has a violent streak. This is another completely crazy, absolutely wild horror movie that I thought for sure was going to be the craziest movie on this list. And then I watched Children of the Corn 3 and I was like, it's actually that. But this one is nuts too, and so good, so much fun. I love the two leads here. You've got Ali Sheedy as the protagonist, the reporter. She's great here, as she always is. And the always incredible Lance Henriksen as the scientist who is desperate to get this dog back. And man, this genetically altered dog, I could not believe the kind of things they did with this dog. The kinds of abilities that it has, as it has been so dramatically genetically altered as a killing machine. Overall, I just love how the reveals are spaced out, are paced in this movie. You watch things play out, then something gets revealed, and you see things differently as we go forward. And it keeps doing that at a really good pace and keeps the movie really interesting. A lot of it takes place in the suburbs. I love a 90s suburbia. In my opinion, it's the best decade for the suburbs, so it gives the movie a really cozy feeling to me. Most of the time, it's just fun. It's a really good vibe, but then there are out of this world, insane things that happen with this dog where I can't believe my eyes. Man's Best Friend is a blast. I think it is such an underrated flick that I would love more people to experience. Dark Angel, The Ascent. From 1994, a demon, desperate to see the world above, manages to escape hell. When she arrives on Earth, she finds her destiny in punishing sinners. So when I knew I was going to do a video on underrated 90s horror movies, I knew I wanted a full moon movie on there. So I just looked up a list of full moon movies, and I saw this poster, and I was like, well, I have to watch this movie. And you know what? I kinda loved it. I think this is easily a top 3 full moon movie for me at this point. It opens up in hell, and as I've said before, I'm always a fan of movies that have any scenes taking place in hell. I just love to see how filmmakers visualize such an idea, and it is a wild version of it. It's like a very conservative religious place, which I'm not used to with hell. You even get just normal domestic life in hell, with our main character just having dinner with her judgmental older parents. The demons in hell all serve God, and their role is just to punish the sinners, and it's all endorsed by God. There's no Satan, there's no devil ever even mentioned. And I thought all of that was really interesting. Our main character is played by Angela Featherstone, who you might know as the girl who breaks up with Adam Sandler in The Wedding Singer, or the girl in S-Mart in Army of Darkness.
Hail to the king, baby.
But I really liked her in this. She gives a very weird, quirky performance, a fish out of water type of thing. A lot of times she reminded me of Amy Adams in Enchanted, but the demonic version.
Where did you get that?
I made it. Do you like it?
Made a dress out of my curtains?
You look beautiful.
I made these garments myself.
So I can see.
There's definitely some weak acting around her, typical for a full moon movie, but I found the characters interesting, particularly because of this romance that she has that really shockingly works and has very palpable sexual tension. In fact, there is a sex scene in here that has so many lit candles all around. Is the most insane, like, 90s erotic thing. I don't know if it's supposed to be magical realism or if they took the time to light all those candles before they started rocking it on till the break of dawn. And I do mean break of dawn literally, because the movie keeps cutting back to a clock, so we know that for sure. But certainly not just a romance film, it's a horror movie. It is really gory. As she is taking on her role of punishing sinners, she really becomes like a political revolutionary. And the movie is not subtle at all in its politics. This movie is strange. It is really intriguing, and I found myself just kind of entranced by the whole thing.
What did she tell you? You're hiding something.
Do anything to stop the children.
Village of the Damned from 1995. After a mysterious blackout, the women of a small coastal town all become pregnant at once, and months later give birth to eerily similar, unnervingly intelligent children. So this is John Carpenter's remake of the classic Village of the Damned from 1960, and pretty much everybody considers it to be a vastly inferior remake. I'm the rare weirdo that likes this one better. They are very similar movies in the story, but they're both based on a book, so you can't exactly give the original film full credit for doing it first. But I just prefer this one because John Carpenter is my favorite director, and this just really, really feels like a John Carpenter movie. And not all of his later films do. Some of his later films, he kind of loses that signature feel, but this one looks absolutely beautiful in that classic John Carpenter way. I find it incredible incredibly cozy. Like, I love the small seaside town atmosphere of this thing. It's actually got one of my favorite Carpenter scores. It's one of the top ones that I like to listen to just on its own because it's so good. And another reason I prefer it is it's starring Christopher Reeve. I am actually a fan of George Sanders, who is the lead in the original, but come on, this is Christopher Reeve. It's Superman, and he's great here. You've also got Kirstie Alley and Mark Hamill as the kind of creepy preacher of the town. Always a good time when Mark Hamill shows up. Creepy kids is just never going to be one of my favorite horror subgenres, but I think it works well enough here because the story is so intriguing, and there are some wild reveals and particularly visuals that you're not going to get in the original film. I might pick this as the most underrated Carpenter film. Aw man, I forgot to hold up the Blu-ray. Well, I have it on Blu-ray. There you go.
I've drawn down demons from the stars.
There'll be no salvation for thee.
The Resurrected.
The Resurrected. From 1991, Charles Dexter Ward's wife enlists the help of a private detective to find out what her husband is up to in a remote cabin owned by his family for centuries. So this is an H.P. Lovecraft film based on his story, The Case of Charles Dexter Ward. Not the first adaptation. There was one with Vincent Price called The Haunted Palace in the 60s, which is my preferred adaptation, but man, this one is still real good. Very faithful to Lovecraft's stories, and it's actually directed by Dan O'Bannon, the only other film he directed besides The Return of the Living Dead. And man, it is such a different film tonally. That film is fun and funny, and this one is deadly serious. Could not take this subject matter more seriously, which I really liked. Now, it's got a great cast starring Chris Sarandon as Charles Dexter Ward. Couldn't have had a better option other than perhaps Vincent Price. This role requires a total duality between his normal self and his occultist ancestor who is taking over his body, which is the main crux of this story. And Chris Sarandon handles that brilliantly. I love the voice he puts on when he gets possessed. So good. His wife is played by Jane Sibbett, who I immediately recognized as Ross's lesbian wife on Friends, and boy, that show thought the word lesbian was hilarious.
No, I know what you're gonna say. You're a lesbian.
John Terry as the investigator she brings in, he's good, but the star of the film is probably just the special effects. This movie goes crazy with practical effects, and it is awesome. It is so gory, grotesque, but gothic and macabre in all of those good ways. I just love the scary scenes here. And it's got a very comfortable November feel to me too. It always feels cold, a little bit wet just after a rain. It's got a really good vibe and a very interesting Lovecraftian story.
Cut!
I'm sorry.
Tales from the Crypt, Demon Night. From 1995, a drifter takes refuge in a remote desert boarding house pursued by a demonic collector, seeking an ancient relic containing the blood of Christ. This is the first official Tales from the Crypt movie, jumping off of the 90s TV show. It was followed up by Bordello of Blood, which is also pretty good. I actually enjoy that movie, but there's absolutely no question Demon Night is their standout film. Sometimes I compare movies to a party or a rock concert, and this is absolutely one of those movies. It is a fun-filled, crazy, high-energy rock show of a film, and man, I love it. Now, I love the idea of demons as monsters, and this really functions like a siege film with all of these monstrous demons ascending upon the place. It is so good, so creepy, but it's amazing that in a movie with practical effect demon monsters that look this cool, the standout demon is Billy Zane. He is awesome in this movie. It's probably his standout performance of all time. I don't think I've ever seen better from him. He is so cool, charming, charismatic, but psychotic and evil as this demon collector after this artifact by any means necessary. But it's got such a good cast around him. Jada Pinkett Smith and William Sadler as the heroes. Cool to see William Sadler in a heroic role. And Thomas Hayden Church, who's like one of my favorite character actors of all time. I put him in the same category as Clancy Brown. I love those guys. I'm guessing you've probably seen Demon Night, but man, if you haven't, you got to watch it as soon as possible. But even if you have, this is a great one for a revisit anytime you want a fun-filled horror flick.
We've transplanted another arm for you.
I have nightmares every night. I want this for more!
Body
parts.
Body Parts from 1991. After losing his arm in a car accident, a criminal psychologist has it replaced with a limb that belonged to a serial killer. So I had first seen Body Parts many years ago, but I didn't remember it very clearly, and I just rewatched it, and oh my god, guys, if you only watch one movie from this list, let it be Body Parts. I now regret it so deeply that it's not on my best horror movies of the 90s list. Like, man, it should be there. Body Parts is incredible. Now, a lot of people consider this to be too ridiculous and silly of a movie and premise to really take seriously, but I totally disagree. I think there's a reason that stories like this have stuck around so long. Think of the silent film, The Hands of Dr. Orlok, or Mad Love with Peter Lorre. These stories about people's limbs being replaced with the limbs of killers and it turning them into killers themselves. Sure, it's silly, but the idea of people's personality changing somewhat with an organ transplant is not unheard of. It's not scientific fact, but it's not unheard of. And it's just an interesting thought. Where does evil live? In the soul, which we don't even know really exists, or in the flesh? That is what Jeff Fahey's character is struggling with here. Jeff Fahey, awesome in this movie. He's got such an interesting look. I think that's like half the battle as a leading actor. Great performance here as a man absolutely tortured by acts that he cannot control out of this arm, tracking down other recipients of the limbs from this killer, trying to solve the mystery, including Brad Dourif in a fantastic supporting role. And the movie gets so grisly, so gruesome, so intense. It has a, let's say, car chase scene that has to be seen to be believed. One of the most wild, intense car action scenes I've ever seen, and this isn't even an action movie. Some may think I'm selling this too hard, but I don't care. I really think if you want to watch a great horror movie, throwing on Body Parts will give you everything you could want. Before I go, I just want to send out a massive thank you to my patrons who truly make this channel possible. Thank you guys so much for supporting me, and if anybody else wants to, there's always a link to my Patreon in the description below. And I want to send out a special shout out to Taylor Chase Brandwin, Tanya Moore, and David Richkoff. You guys absolutely rule. If you want to check any of these out for yourself, I do have streaming recommendations right here on the screen, but of course those are subject to change, so I've also got physical media links in the description, and using those helps support the channel. What are some 90s horror movies you want to recommend? Let us all know down in the comments below, and if you want to hang out with me more, you can click the video on the screen. Thank you all so much. Don't forget to enjoy yourselves today, and I will see you next time.